Good afternoon and welcome back to another ironic introduction to another video. Today I'm going to be doing kind of a review of last month as well as some updates on next month. As always, use the description to kind of use important timestamps. If you don't care about my review of last month, you can skip straight to me talking about the community milestones and my take on how Kabam is handling that. And if you don't care about that and you just care about my thoughts on the reviews / the spreadsheet of the rewards for next month's side quest monthly, there will be a timestamp in the description for that as well. And there might be other timestamps if I decide that's necessary. So real quick, just talking about last month's event / the one that we're still currently on. I want to say overall, I'm very, very satisfied with the amount of rewards we got. I mean, we saw a lot of tier 4 basic and the solo objectives. This is a crazy amount of tier 1 alpha in the master completions and a, surprisingly decent chunk of 5-star 6 stones if you can manage the epic completions / explorations. And when you account for like the fact that we didn't really get a 5-star crystal like we normally do, but we got 2 the month before, it ends up kind of balancing out for the most part. And I say that it comes out on a win, right? Those upgrade materials were very, very solid as far as tier 4 basics and tier 1 alpha goes. If you're not an endgame player, if you're an endgame player, maybe those tier 4 basics and tier 1's alphas aren't what you were looking for, but for me, it was really, really satisfactory. I think that for a lot of people, just the access of the tier 1 alphas and the tier 4 basics is really accessible for the mid-level player in Marvel Contest of Champions, and so I thought that was really acceptable. Now, rewards is a really big part, and I did want to touch on that just to kind of say that I was satisfied with what we got in the last month. I just want to say that how we got it left me really, really dissatisfied. I don't mind gates to an extent, but when you have a daily quest, to have gates daily is incredibly stressful. I mean, I'm running in an alliance where I need all of my top champions in order to handle alliance quest, alliance war, and maybe even just a small amount of questing, and even then I do most of my questing when those aren't active. And so to be locked out on the dailies and then trying to juggle the dailies with alliance war and alliance quest, it was incredibly frustrating, and I managed it, but it did cost me a handful of revives, I think 4 or 5 over the course of the whole month, and that's just because my roster's stacked. A lot of people don't have the blessing I do. I think a common phrase I saw was, if you can do it, right? And I think that's really frustrating because like even the master difficulty, you could have gotten totally boned. So if you saw my video about a major flaw in this month's event, I think that if they just didn't have the gates, I think it would have been fine. I think if the gates had been more reasonable and more balanced, I think it would have been fine. But other than that, I think this month it was a spot tricky, and I think I saw kind of like a subtle difficulty increase there with the introduction to a lot of 6 stars on the pads. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe the 6 stars have always been there, but I'm pretty sure it used to be 5 stars. And the thing about 6 stars is when you put them on a path and they're awakened, even if they're at say the same sig level as a 5-star, it's usually a much higher awakened ability, so they could be the same hero rating, but you're going to be going up against a much more frustrating awakened ability, and I didn't really appreciate that. And I don't like this idea of scaling the uncollected difficulty event to match where uncollected players are now. I think that uncollected was a difficulty, and you need to match that in the static content and then put new higher level difficulties out there. But hey, I've really beaten a dead horse on that one. That's how I feel. So at this point, I'll put a timestamp in the description below because I want to talk about the community milestones. Now, I want to say that community milestones is something I'm really, really excited about in general. I think that all kinds of games like this can really benefit from introducing community milestones, and it really comes down to execution. So in this situation, Kabam wants November 6th to December 4th, and they want us to do this by essentially doing 250,000 fights across the battle. Now, that sounds like a lot, and even to me, I'm like, wow, my initial instinct is that's a lot. So let me see, how many players play Marvel Contest of Champions? And quick Google says out of 87 million downloads, this was in 2017. So just in 2017, there was 1.3 million active. So for 250 million, that would be, roughly 250 fights a person. But the game has gone up, I would assume, since then. Tough to say. So anyways, that's, it's assuming 250 fights a person. I got nothing. So let's run with the 1 million. Sorry about that, team. So let's run with 1 million. So at 1 million people, that is 250 fights a person. And that sounds like a lot. And it really does. Like, as far as a milestone, I think that 250 million sounds like a lot. But if you think about it, at 250 fights a person, right, you got to think you're doing AQ, right? And that's somewhere between 5 to 9 fights, 5 to 10 fights every, 5 days a week, so even at the higher end, that's 50 of your fights. And then you got Alliance War, if you're handling a path there, that's a minimum of 6 to 7 fights, and you're doing that 3 times a week. So that's another 20 or so, depending on where you're at. So that's 70 out of your 250. Not to mention arena. 250 fights is nothing if you're an arena grinder like myself. Now, I don't think that the quantity they stick on this milestone is important so much as what the rewards are for the milestone, and that's where I think a lot of people really lose their luster. So first we'll unlock the first reward, which is an item exchange event, and now I think this is really cool. So the item exchange event, which I'm sure other people are familiar with, is summoners can transmute level 1 and level 2 potions and alliance potions, level 1 revives and alliance revives, and level 2 team health potions for higher level potions in the store daily. So make sure you stock up on these, because I have no doubt in my mind that the community will hit 250 million. I would hope that a company the size of Kabam, I want to give them the benefit of the doubt and assume they calculated this number based on something we've already can obtain, because this is data, right? This all comes down to big data. And Kabam should have enough data to support saying this is a milestone the community will hit. And not only is this a milestone the community will hit, but this is a milestone the community will hit fairly early on. Because if they set the first one at 250 million, either the next one after that is only like 300 million, or the community as a whole really is just pushing that many fights. Can't say. Honestly, I don't have that data. So it's hard for me to say anything about this number without actually seeing that data. And we'll get kind of a live perspective of how this is going just by judging after like 3 or 4 days, seeing how far people are pushing this milestone. Because, we might be surprised. Maybe this is a milestone we hit in a week, or maybe this is a milestone we hit 3 weeks in and we're all sitting here cursing Kabam for putting an unobtainable milestone in there. But based on the next part here, where they have multiple other rewards, I'm going to assume that probably on a monthly basis between a 4-week period, the community as a whole is probably pushing somewhere around 750 million fights. But that's just a guess I have, and that's taking a lot of trust in Kabam, which is something not a lot of people have. So I don't fault you for that. Anyways, this first milestone, solid. I absolutely would love to transmute level 1 and 2 potions up. I love the idea of turning level 1 revives into level 2 revives. It's not the most, but it's a nice reward, and it's a good incentive. Next up is the special boost calendar. This is a 14-day calendar to collect health, attack, and champion boost. This one just comes down to, is it 10, 20, or 30%? My guess is it'll be the 20% ones. Actually, it'll probably go like 10, 10, 10, right? 10, 10, 10. And then 15, or the middle tier ones 3 times, and then back to like 10, 10, 10, and then final, like the last 3 days will be the big boosts. I would expect in a 14-day calendar to get at least one of the big boosts for all 3, but hey, you never know, Kabam might just meme us. And then Dungeon Days is in the milestone. My gut instinct is to say this hurts just because we did just come off of getting this for free 3 times. But the argument here is that Dungeon Days was part of the Summoner Appreciation. And I'm not going to lie, it really comes down to how well is the community pushing this milestone. Because if the community is pushing these milestones and Kabam sets it up and it's like 250 million, 300 million, 350 million, and we clear them all no problem, no one's actually really trying, because let's face it, when you look at these milestones, you should just play like you normally do, and if we hit it, we hit it, and if we don't, well, then that's Kabam, and we can get mad at them for setting an unobtainable goal. But in reality, these should be milestones that we're already naturally hitting, because no one individual is going to go and hammer it out. It's supposed to make us collectively feel good about the amount of people who are playing the game. So my guess is we'll probably get all of these milestones. Like, I would be very, very hard pressed to believe Kabam set this up where we're not going to get all of these. And I would actually bet we're going to get this last one at the very, very end. Like, it's going to be close. But I would be very hard pressed to believe otherwise. And if it's anything different than this, my opinion completely changes. So with that being said, expecting to see the dungeon days about 2 weeks into the monthly event, I'd say that if this is what it takes to get dungeon days every month, I'm totally okay with that. And I think that's really reasonable, right? Essentially is, if are people playing the game, then you get dungeon days. Are people not playing the game? Well, then you don't get dungeon days. And really, it just comes down to that milestone. Gold arena, 500,000 gold is no small quantity. I'm super pumped about that. And then free alliance quests and maps, that one always bores me. I think my biggest complaint about these milestones is that they just seem a little lackluster. I think that we really needed a solid, banger in here. A solid, like, wow, kabam, I can't believe it. I think if there had been maybe like gold, like if it had gone item up, level up event, gold arena, special boost calendar, dungeon days, another gold arena, right? I think that people would have really appreciated that. And like, yeah, gold arena duping doesn't seem super cool, but gold is a really big problem in this game. And so having that appear twice would actually excite players, especially if it was like, oh, the first gold arena is 500,000, but the very last milestone is 2 million gold or something like that, right? And that's probably unreasonable. So maybe like the first one's 250,000 and the last one's like 500,000, right? We get 750,000 gold there. I just think that was a good opportunity that they missed out on. And then finally, we will have solo objectives for these crystals. I think the biggest thing here is if it's going to be generic, like premium hero crystals, then that's a flop. But if it's going to be, where we can turn them in for Grandmaster crystals and players are getting, 20 to 30 Grandmaster crystals like we did in that previous event where we had them, then this could be really exciting. So I think that, unfortunately, as always, I have to say I have to wait and see. I need to understand how difficult these are going to be, how much the community is actually pushing. I need to see that data before I can make any kind of judgment. But these are my initial thoughts. At this point, I will stick another timestamp in the description to talk about the rewards for the Fighting Along Dr. Doom and Mr. Fantastic. So they've set this up where it's alternating days. They've openly stated that it's going to be 4 weeks. November 6th to December 4th is 4 weeks, in case you were curious. And essentially every other day you'll be able to do one or the other. So let's say first day you can do Fantastic Invasions, like when the game resets for you, whatever time that happens to be for you. 24 hours later, the game will reset to Doom Invasions, and then you'll be able to do Doom Invasions, and there will be 4 difficulties as a daily with 7 energy per path, 3 paths of 7 nodes each. So essentially all 3 difficulties will cost you 21 energy to do an exploration of each, or a total of 84 energy a day to do all 4. It's not completely unreasonable, but it is a pretty good chunk of energy to be spending daily. So these are the rewards, which I won't discuss here because I have a spreadsheet for those. And this is where they say December 6th to December 4th. And then you can see here, update your game. That said, let's move on to the rewards. So the rewards here I have separated. So let me touch on these as succinctly as possible. Wow, is there no way I can make this less ugly? Well, bear with me. I apologize for the poor formatting. So for normal, on a daily basis, I've normalized all the crystals to percentages. Well, not percentages, but fractions or decimals of a whole crystal. So daily, if you do the normal exploration, you get 0.56 or about a half a premium hero crystal. You get about 1/5 of a 3-star, and you get about 1/20th of a 4-star, and then gold and 3-star sigs. Or in total, you get about 8 premium hero crystals, 2.63 stars, 0.7. We'll leave this up for a moment. You guys can review it overall, but I'm going to go over the total numbers because that's just going to be beneficial for everybody. So essentially, we don't see much of a big difference here. I think the main highlight across the board is going to be the Sig Stones, because we don't really see much of a change in the form of crystals. And then the final thing we see a big change in is the tier 2 alpha, because we're getting almost a whole tier 2 alpha heal here. Other than that, everything else is pretty standard. So for the premium hero crystals, for a full exploration, you get 8 premium hero crystals. You get about 6 3-stars. You get almost 3.5 4-stars. Not quite a whole 5-star, which is kind of like, it's just like, it's a feel bad moment. Like it just wouldn't have been that much harder to top this off to a full 5-star, but if you grind any arena at all, you will get a whole 5-star by the end of the month just from this. And then 10% of a 6-star crystal. So this is pretty standard. There's nothing super exciting here. But hey, it is good to see crystals back in there. It would have been nice to see a full 5-star crystal here, given the fact that we're doing this daily. But I'm not going to lie, I had no expectation of this from Kabam. You will get 210,000 gold, 28 tier 3 class catalysts, 28 tier 3 basics. And I just want to highlight this for a moment. As far as rewards go, the lower portions of the community, people who aren't quite mastered or epic difficulty yet, they're coming out really good. I mean, you get 4 stars just for completing the normal difficulty. You almost get a whole 4-star just from the normal difficulty. And from the heroic, you get another full 4-star. And then you get that last 1.5 4-stars from the master. I mean, that's a really good reward for people in the lower difficulties. So for newer players, these rewards are actually really solid, and right in the range of what we would want. We want to see that high acceleration, but these probably don't excite anyone in the higher, farther difficulties of the game. As far as tier 4 class catalysts, you get about 2, which is an okay amount. It's definitely more than we normally get, I feel, but definitely still kind of feels underwhelming considering the quantity you really need to upgrade 5 stars. Tier 4 basic 3.7. Again, this feels underwhelming considering the quantity we just got this month. Tier 2 alpha, we see that full tier 2 alpha. That's gold. I absolutely love a full tier 2 alpha, especially considering Cavalier players will be getting a full one in their monthly and uncollected players will be getting a half one. So hopefully the tier 2 alpha disparity becomes much less of a problem going forward. We don't even see 10% of a tier 5 basic. That's unfortunate. 112 3-star 6 stones, 56 4-star 6 stones, and 84 5-star 6 stones. Overall, I want to state the rewards are about average. The major highlight being the tier 2 alpha and the 5-star 6 stones. But I'm just going to say it outright. I'm excited. 84 5-star 6 stones is great. I know for a lot of people it's not exciting. For a lot of people it's a little underwhelming. I feel like, especially with how much hype was going on, a lot of people were expecting more. I wasn't. We still need to see solo objectives, right? Because we don't know what we're getting in solo objectives. This month was a perfect example of oh, you opened up your solo objectives and you were like, holy crap, there's a tier 2 alpha and 9 tier 4 basics in there. Kabam could do that again. So all I'm saying is right now, from my perspective, all I see is roughly average rewards, a full tier 2 alpha, and 84 5-star 6 stones. I'm happy with that. Do I want more? Yeah. Like everybody else, I am a greedy player. I want 200 5-star 6 stones. I want them all to be generic. I want 4 tier 2 alphas, but also this is a step in the right direction. And without just adding an extra difficulty, balancing rewards is part of the game, right? If they give us too much, people will lose interest because the game's too easy, and if they give us too little, people will complain. It's tough either way, but I'm personally going to be doing this daily every single day, at least the epic difficulty and the master difficulty for the 5-star 6 stones alone. That alone, this is what I really, really, really need in the game. So that said, forum will be in the description as well. These are just my thoughts. I hope that whether or not you like these rewards, whether or not it's all doom and gloom, or whether or not these are fantastic news for you, for me, don't look a gift horse in the mouth. I'm happy for don't look a gift horse in the mouth. Yeah, I can say TH. That said, talk to you guys later.